what is your sense of the value of working with high doses of mushrooms?
It's an art form. It's like, do you want to enter the ring with George Foreman or Mike Tyson right off the bat? Or do you want to practice first? And when I say practice first, I feel like people don't understand the value in doing high doses. And therefore, when they do the high dose for the wrong reason, i.e. the reason of just trying to do a high dose because they heard that someone somewhere had been doing it and they wanted to compare their experiences, I feel like that's never a really good reason to enter a boxing ring with an unknown opponent that could deck you and potentially cause you to not have any memory of the fight. And it doesn't always have to be a fight. I feel like it can be play at the higher doses, and it can be relaxing, and it can be absolutely peaceful and empty. Like I've sat on 200 wet grams of Khoi Samui Super Strain that I grew myself, and they were all about abort sized. They're about 3/4 maturity. The veils hadn't broken yet. I'll put it that way. Mature aborts, kind of. And everyone knows in the community that, they reach a certain peak potency before they actually open their caps and spread spores. And I'll tell you this, if you got the mental fortitude, you can sit on a 20-gram equivalent trip, wet or dry, and experience absolute nothing.
So, but what is the value of that? Like as somebody, because you come back from that experience, right? Like is the value simply the experience, or?
Honestly, without a cultural framework to put it in, there is no value to doing a high dose of mushrooms if you're not actually using some sort of goal, because you could hurt yourself. You could hurt yourself trying to do a high dose of mushrooms without having some sort of parachute, so to speak, of practice that grounds you, that makes you feel at home in your body, at home with your senses. And if you have no sense of home in your body or your senses without mushrooms, it's really improper for you to expect to do a higher dose of mushrooms and somehow immediately gain your footing in your mind or in your reality. And I think some people are doing a high dose because they're looking for that grounding. They're looking for gaining that footing. They're looking to learn something about themselves that's going to change the way that their mind and their body and their consciousness interfaces with this reality. And oftentimes on the other side, they find fear. They find malice. They find malevolent things in the world, not just beautiful things. And they find themselves challenged by their own actions, by the actions of those around them, and by the actions of things that they see in their experience that may have nothing to do with them physically. And so it's something that, just like an art form, what is the benefit of doing jujitsu to someone who doesn't do martial arts? It's hard, they got beat up, and it hurt. But to a martial artist, what is the value of doing jujitsu? It's a way of life. There's a warriorship aspect to it. There's also a self-improvement aspect to it. And there's also this enjoyment that naturally comes from being a martial artist and doing your favorite martial art and respecting your lineage and the teachers who came before you and their specific techniques at addressing punches and arm bars and headlocks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like you've done a good thing because you're keeping your teacher's knowledge in your heart. And so when people just go off rip and say, oh, I want to do a high dose of mushrooms, Kilindi was putting high dose in a frame of, in Africa, we don't measure doses. The mushroom is a food for the soul, for the spirit. And it's protected in women's circles and midwifery. It's protected in martial arts, and it's protected in the community as something that's reserved for exploration and for improvement. Improvement of tradition, improvement of ethics, improvement of physical strength, improvement of knowledge. And in the West, we see this thing as a drug.